Hey, Larken Rose here. I want you to picture two different scenarios. First scenario is you're driving along and you stop at a stop sign or something, and somebody runs up to you and points a gun in your face and says, "Give me your car keys or I'm going to kill you." Now, let's suppose you're not armed and don't have the ability to defend yourself. Regardless of what you decide to do about that, everybody there, you and the carjacker, is really clear about what's going on. He's trying to rob you using threats of violence, and you probably don't want to be robbed. You certainly aren't going to view this transaction as okay and moral and acceptable, which is why he has to threaten bodily harm to make you go along with it. I mean, I know I'm stating the bleeding obvious here, but there's a reason for that. So, it's a straightforward situation. Now, what the guy is doing is obviously immoral. He's the bad guy. You have the right to defend yourself, even if that requires using deadly force to combat his threat of deadly force. So, you'll do whatever you'll do, and the outcome will be the outcome, and whatever. Second scenario. You're driving sort of late at night on, roads that are out in the open somewhere, not like city roads. And you come up to a stop sign and you can see that there's nobody around. It's the middle of the night. So you don't come to a complete stop and you keep going. And then out from behind some billboard comes some state piggy who sees the opportunity to officially and legally rob you. And he puts on the red and blue lights and he pulls you over and swaggers up to your window. "Do you know I pulled you over? Because you're an immoral parasite who robs productive people so he can give the money to parasitic ruling classes?" Yeah, I do know why you would do such a thing. So, imagine you're there as a voluntarist, and this swaggering hired robot of the state just wanders up to your window. Now, what makes it so different from the carjacker, and in fact, the only thing that makes it so different from the carjacker, is that cop delusionally imagines that what he is doing is completely different from what a carjacker would do. He's walking up and demanding money from you based on something you did that didn't threaten anyone, it didn't hurt anyone, it didn't endanger anyone, but it was technically against the law. Now, you may be tempted to just, okay, I'll just quietly go along with this and he'll rob me, or I'll challenge it in court, or I'll just pay off the thug so I don't have to think about it, or whatever you choose to do with it. If you're a voluntarist, what you think happened is drastically different from what the cop thinks happened. Unlike in the carjacker scenario. Carjacker scenario, both of you are quite clear. This guy came up to you and threatened you with violence to get your car without your consent. Like, you both recognize that. In this scenario, you recognize that a kind of delusional dude in a costume came up fishing for a technical excuse to immorally rob you under threat of violence, and that's what the red and blue lights are. And what he perceives it as is, that person broke the law, so I'm going to enforce the law and do my job and protect and serve the people by writing this fellow a ticket. All right, so let's say the cop even means well and he's not like going out of his way to be a sadistic, corrupt bastard. So we'll make him the nicest version of a road pirate you can get. So he doesn't get what happened. He's literally delusional about what is actually occurring and what he is actually doing. Because he really and truly believes that the politician scribbles known as law make you a bad person for doing something that didn't harm anybody or endanger anybody or harm anybody's property or anything of the sort. You drifted through a stop sign in the middle of nowhere. There was nobody in danger. There was zero immoral about what you did. And then he threw on the lights to threaten you with violence. But he doesn't see it that way. So imagine a conversation between, and you may have had conversations like this, the challenge of trying to get the road pirate to start to get a glimpse of what he did and what he is, that's tough, and that's the whole challenge. Because the carjacker knows his victims aren't going to be thrilled with it. Like, yeah, I'm just doing it by violence and hoping I get away with it and hoping you don't shoot me. But if somebody shoots a carjacker, the carjacker's not going to go, "What are you doing, you horrible criminal?" He's going to go, "Oh, darn, didn't get away with it that time. Hope I don't die." Like, it's straightforward, it's open, it's honest. What cops do is not at all honest, even to themselves, and that's the weird part. So let's say he walks up, and I could totally picture this happening. I haven't been pulled over in, like, I don't remember how long ago it's been, for, like, not having my registration expired or some stupid thing. But if I get pulled over, I'll use myself as the example, and he walks up to the door, and I'm going to, first of all, I'm not calling him sir. I'm not going to scream and yell at him because it won't accomplish anything. He deserves it, but it won't accomplish anything because he thinks he's the good guy. He's that delusional. His belief in statism and the legalese robbery, enforcement of the law to preserve law and order and blah, blah, all the bullshit he really and truly believes that he's the good guy and I'm the bad guy. So he's going to do his swagger up to the window. And if I point out, like, if he does do you know why? I was like, yeah, we're not playing this game where you fish for stuff. You know why you threaten me with violence. And so do I. The way he will almost certainly respond, and absolutely think it whether he says it out loud or not. I didn't threaten you with violence. Pretty much 100% of cops, if you say that to them, will say, "I didn't threaten you with violence. What are you talking about?" Okay, when you put on the red and blue lights, were you asking nicely for me to pull over? Is that what those lights mean? Hey, pretty please, if you got the time, could we, like, chat for a while? Or does it mean you're going to stop, or I'm going to call more and more of my gang members until we make you stop by any means necessary, even if it's running you off the road or, shooting out your tires or something. But even just that obvious literal reality, it doesn't occur to them, and they would genuinely be shocked and like, "What are you talking about? I threatened you with violence." Because they are so indoctrinated into thinking, "Well, I'm doing my official job, so that can't be bad. I'm just an unthinking, order-obeying thug of the state, so I'm the good guy, right? Because I'm law and order." No, you're absolutely a thieving, immoral road pirate. The fact that they don't even recognize the violence. Like, if you said to the carjacker, like, "You're threatening me with violence to get the car," he wouldn't go, "What do you mean? I'm not threatening violence," while pointing a gun at you. He'd go, "Yeah, threatening you with violence. Give me your car keys." Like, he's honest, at least. Now, he's totally immoral. But he's honest. He's not under some delusion that he's the good guy, like, maintaining law and order for the peace of society by carjacking you. But the cop is so delusional that, number one, if you say, like, "You stopped me by threatening me with violence," which is what the red and blue lights mean. The moment you flip them on, you just threaten me with violence. So first of all, he'd say, "What? What are you talking about?" And if you walk him through, like, it wasn't a polite request. That was a command. And you and your fellow law enforcer gang members would escalate whatever level of violence it took to stop me. Even if it was for drifting through a stop sign or something. So immediately his delusion would be obvious. He would be shocked. He wouldn't even just not notice. He would be shocked that you accused him of threatening you with violence, even if he totally, obviously, indisputably did. And then he'd say, "Well, you ran that stop sign back there. And if you try to explain, like, did I hurt anybody? Did I endanger anybody? Like, you can see in all directions. It's middle of the night. Nobody's on the road. There's nobody anywhere near here. Mr. Guy with a badge, that I didn't endanger or harm anybody, like in the slightest. And he would say, well, okay, be that as it may, technically it's against the law. Now this is important. He thinks that means something. He really and truly, to the depths of his soul, thinks that that means something. That it's against the law. That doesn't mean anything. In the real world, when it comes to physical reality and when it comes to morality, it doesn't mean anything to say that something is against the law. Because some crook somewhere scribbled down a thing that said, don't do this. Okay, you're just some babbling psycho scribbling a thing on paper. It doesn't create a moral obligation on anybody. But the cop can't fathom that. And if you tell him there was nothing immoral about it, the only thing immoral happening here is you robbing me for doing something that didn't harm or threaten or endanger anybody, that's the bad thing. You're the bad guy. You're the initiator of violence. He won't, in the vast majority of cases, he won't even be able to understand what it is you're saying to him. Because the statism is that ingrained and that down to the depths of their soul that they wouldn't be able to process the idea that this person didn't hurt anybody and then you threaten them with violence and now you're giving them a piece of paper that's a demand for money to go to the ruling class. Like, all of that is factually indisputably true, but even the factual stuff, like not even just arguing about the morality, but even the factual stuff, they are unable to process and comprehend. Because, and this is why it's so difficult, because it's not just somebody doing something wrong and they obviously recognize that and they just don't care, like a carjacker. It's somebody doing something wrong while thinking they're the good guy. And I've used the silly analogy before, but I'll use it again, if there was a tribe that really and truly believed, well, this volcano god that erupts every once in a while, that's what like gives us good weather or bad weather, good crops this season. And we're going to starve if we don't get good crops and, get enough rain this year. And what the volcano god requires is for us to like throw a virgin into the volcano every month or, whatever. If you have a tribe of people who really and truly believe that, like as strongly as anybody believes anything, then the person who says, hey, don't throw that person into the volcano, they're the ones who are going to appear as bonkers. Like, what are you talking about? We're going to starve to death if the god of the volcano doesn't give us enough rain, and this is what we have to do to get enough rain. It's for the good of society and our people and the tribe. What kind of evil psycho do you have to be to try to tell us to not throw the virgin into the volcano? That level of delusion infects the brain of every single employee of the state. And it includes every law enforcer, it includes every soldier, it includes every bureaucrat, every tax collector, every zoning Nazi who's like, oh, there's this arbitrary list of a whole bunch of random shit, and you didn't do random shit number 57, so now you have to do something or we're going to steal this many $100 from you every day until you do something that makes no stinking difference to anything. Doesn't make it safer. It's not like it's hurting anybody if you don't. It's just on our list of arbitrary bullshit that you have to do. And if you resist and say, well, go fuck yourself. It's my property. I'm building a thing. It's perfectly safe. I don't care about your arbitrary list of stuff. They won't be able to comprehend the fact that they are the problem and that you're not, and that what you built is not the problem, that you didn't do anything immoral, but they did because they threatened violence against you when you didn't hurt anybody, you didn't endanger anybody. all they understand is I'm just doing my job. I'm just following orders. I'm just going down my checklist like a brain dead automaton. So when people get mad at them, they actually have contempt for their victims. They literally do the victim blaming thing of, oh, this silly fringe weirdo who like thinks he shouldn't have to abide by an infinite list of arbitrary bullshit that has nothing to do with like safety or morality or endangering people or anything of the sort. How dare somebody think that he shouldn't have to grovel to us and obey whatever stupid crap we make up. That is their mentality. And that is the only way you can subjugate humanity, because, yeah, you can find some people that you can just hire to be violent thugs, who they don't care about morality. You pay them to beat somebody up and steal their money. Oh, okay, I'll do that. But it's not that big a percentage of the people. The number of people who wouldn't do that is a lot more, and the number of people who would defend themselves against that is a lot more than the number of people you could get to just do what they know everybody hates and is wrong, and they don't care because they're getting paid to do it. So for a government to be successful, what it has to do is convince the abusers that the abused are the bad guys. That the ones who didn't jump through every hoop and the ones who missed arbitrary bullshit number 57 on the list, they're the bad guy. And how dare they complain about us just implementing the law or the policy or the ordinance or whatever stupid label is attached to the authoritarian bullshit of the day. And so whether you're talking, and same thing with tax collectors, if, whether it's like property taxes, hey, you didn't give us a big chunk of money to fund these schools that you don't want, have never used, won't ever send your kids to, and are opposed to, you're the bad guy because you didn't give us money for something you're opposed to that you don't use and don't want, but it's the law. Somebody scribbled a thing. Therefore, you're the bad guy for not going along with this extortion racket. And the tax collectors of townships or counties or states or the feds, whatever, they all have it in their demented, deranged brains that as they go from person to person committing extortion backed by threat of violence, because even property taxes are backed by, eventually we're just going to send the sheriff to steal your house if you don't pay us for the privilege of living in the thing you already bought. And they think they're the good guys, and they have contempt for people who don't pay the extortion racket. Think how weird that is. Just like any other gang or mafia, like this is our turf, and if you want to do business here, you give us a cut of your profits or we come break your kneecaps. And if somebody like tries to get out of it, they'll threaten, they'll do the violence, but they're not going to go, oh, I'm shocked and offended. How could you be so immoral as to not pay off the local kneecap smashers? It is only thugs of the state that are so deluded and indoctrinated that they view their victims as the bad guy. And they view themselves, the thieves, the abusers, the violent psychos, as the good guy. And how dare you even question them? And how dare you give them attitude? So back to the cop at your door, if you even talk to him like a guy, he's just a guy, like you're a guy in a costume, you're going to probably give me a piece of paper that's going to demand that I give money to the parasitical ruling class or nasty things will happen to me, whether you take my driver's license, whatever. You're threatening me with violence, demanding money for something I did that was not wrong in any way, shape, or form. You're the bad guy, and I'm the victim of your extortion. That's the literal reality. Almost every cop is going to say, why are you giving me attitude? And you can see that they say that exact line in a whole bunch of videos you can see where they're on a power trip and somebody just goes, you suck. I don't want to help you victimize me. And I'm not going to say, sir, yes, sir. Like you're no better than a carjacker. And I'm not going to, like, even if I'm not in a position of resisting, okay, I'm going to go along with this, with being victimized because the other alternative isn't going to end well for me. But they view that as giving them attitude because you talk to them like a mere mortal instead of what you're supposed to do, which is grovel and beg forgiveness for one of the guards of the king. Because that's how they expect to be treated. Now, thankfully, they expect that less and less because more and more people are treating them for what they are, immoral, violent parasites. But even just having attitude, and by attitude I mean talking to them the way you would talk to anybody else who tried to do that to you. Like to the carjacker, you're not going to go, "Yes, sir. Right away, sir. I'm so sorry that I took so long to hand you the car keys." You're going to be like, "Okay, I'll give you the car keys so you don't kill me. There's still a piece of crap. And I'm not going to talk like this is okay and not give you the sanction of the victim," as Ayn Rand called it, which is huge. And I love that phrase because it's perfect. Because when people go along with authoritarian bullshit and I obey the law and I'm proud of it, and they act as if they're obligated to do so, you're not just going along with a carjacker. You're going along with a carjacker and sending him the message that you think what he did is all the way right and that you're actually the bad guy as the victim. And if people just stop doing that, a huge number of tax collectors and bureaucrats and cops would resign. Because imagine if every time a cop pulls somebody over for not having the right sticker or something, even if they all go along and they're going to pay it, everybody talks to them as what they are, as violent, immoral, parasitic bastards. It's like, "Okay, you're going to rob my money. You're really a piece of shit, and I'm allowed to tell you you're a piece of shit. I should probably have a camera running so you don't beat the crap out of me and pretend something happened. But if I have a camera running, I'll tell you you're a piece of shit while I go through here's the little piece of plastic and here's the piece of paper that proves yada, yada, yada. You're a parasitic, thieving piece of shit. I hope you rot in hell. Have a nice day, you asshole." Imagine if every single person they pulled over for a victimless crime, or pulled over or ever encountered anywhere, like there's other videos where they just walk up to somebody, "Show me your ID, we're doing an investigation." Well, you can go fuck yourself. You're not investigating me and I'm not helping you. If everybody does that, and more people are, but if everybody does that, who's going to want to be a cop? The power trip isn't nearly as fun if the victims stop acting as if it's okay, as if they should be victimized. As if their thief and abuser is just a great guy doing his job and keeping law and order. No, you're not. You're a parasitic road pirate robbing productive people and then getting paid a paycheck that was also stolen from productive people. But if you're trying to talk to a cop in that setting, the likelihood of getting anywhere near chiseling through his brain enough to have him have a glimpse just of what is actually happening. He doesn't know what is actually happening. He thinks this bad person did a bad thing and I'm doing a good thing by issuing them a ticket or something. He can't comprehend the fact that he's the bad guy. You're the thief, you're the instigator, you're the aggressor, you're the immoral piece of crap. And if you say that to them, it won't compute. They won't even know why you would say that. And then they'll do what they do every single time. "Oh, you must just be a criminal if you don't like the cops." First of all, literally everybody's a criminal. There's so many laws. I guarantee you are not a law-abiding citizen. Nobody is. Because there's an infinite number of laws pretty much. But aside from that, what they mean is you're a bad person. If you disrespect the cops, obviously it's because you're a thief and a mugger and a... Wow, the irony. No, it's because you're a thief and a mugger, Mr. Guy with a badge. But the challenge is that they literally can't understand reality and they can't comprehend why it is that you would be upset and upset with them just because they threatened you with violence and are now robbing you, committing armed robbery. Because they don't view it that way. I'm just doing my job and enforcing the law. And I have this fluffy thing in my head that says that the law is some supernatural, superhuman thing that, of course, anybody who disobeys is bad, and they can't comprehend anything else because that's what they've been indoctrinated into. To the point where they can't fathom why their victims don't like being victimized. It's that insane. And I've been tempted to do more candles in the dark things with cops, although a lot of times I've seen a bunch of videos where people try that and the cop goes into official, well, I'm not going to answer questions and have a discussion with you. I'm not going to lower myself to act like I'm a human being capable of having a rational discussion. So on duty, I doubt it would work anyway. And if they're in the process of robbing you, they're just doing their job, and their job is, I just want to do the paperwork, rob this guy, and then get back to it so I can rob the next guy. They don't want a philosophical discussion. But it would be fun, because if I had even just 5 minutes where somebody was at least willing to say what they think, and I went into candles in the dark mode, so instead of like calling them a evil bastard, I'd literally just ask them questions. And in a traffic stop, they're not gonna bother to go along with that. They'll just say, just do this and give me that, and I'm in control, and I'm in charge, and I'm going to rob you. And so in that setting, there's almost nothing to do, and it's so surreal that you have to sit there and go, I'm getting robbed by this dumbass who thinks he's the good guy and thinks I'm the bad guy, even though he committed violence, and I didn't threaten or harm anybody. I didn't do anything immoral, and he's robbing me and talking down to me and condemning me in a professional manner. Well, yeah, and they'll do the lecture thing of, yeah, you got to come to a complete stop. No, I don't. I have no moral obligation to do that. If what you mean is I need to come to a complete stop so brain-dead fucking road pirates don't rob me, that is a factual truth in some cases. It has nothing to do with right or wrong. But they literally can't comprehend that. They can't comprehend the fact that they're the bad guys, which makes it just so bizarre and makes it literally worse than dealing with a carjacker. Because if you defend yourself with force against a carjacker, at least he understands why. He doesn't get all like shocked and confused that how could you? It's like the same way you could to me. Just you picked the wrong target today, you bastard. Like, there's no misunderstanding there. The actual situation is clear. But in every single case where the cops pull someone over, they don't even understand what it is they're doing. The literal reality of what they're doing is a mystery to them because it's behind layers and layers and layers of authoritarian statist bullshit that they were taught. So that the world is upside down and backwards, and the abusers are the good guys and their victims are the villains. And it's weird. So a lot of times I don't even bother trying to talk to them because it's like, you're so deluded that you would throw somebody into a volcano based on your stupid belief, and it would just sort of be depressing to try to talk to you. But yeah, if I get a chance, I should probably try some more candles in the dark with some cops here and there. Probably not when they're pulling me over, which never happens. It's been ages since I've been pulled over. But it's trying to get them to see reality is almost the entire challenge. Because they think they're the good guys and they're trying to be the good guys. They're just failing horribly because their view of reality is twisted beyond repair. Well, it isn't always beyond repair. Every once in a while, one is capable of stepping back and going, am I the bad guy? Am I the one who sucks here and introduced violence into this situation when this person hadn't done anything wrong or threatened anybody or stole anything? So it goes to show how much the belief in authority is the problem, because the number of people the state could get to rob you if they didn't convince their thugs that they're the good guys. If it was just, I'm just hiring some, heartless thug to rob people, the number of people who would ever sign up for that is very, very tiny. And if they were open about it, all of their victims would then feel justified in forcibly resisting, and that would be the end of that. But as it is, most of the perpetrators and the vast majority of their victims accept as moral and legitimate and necessary the victimization of nonviolent people. And that's what statism does to the human brain. And that's why that loony superstition needs to be done away with.